we're gonna pull up you can pull up the PowerPoint here again, and just a reminder, we do have a within group share out and reflection and processing document if you'd like to use that to take notes. But we're gonna go through our slideshow here, and then Carrie's been taking notes all along, but we'll continue to take notes here from our section. So we're gonna move through this piece. So we're gonna start with board, and Liz, are you online?
I am, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, we have a couple of interesting updates from the College Board. First of all, our SAT task force has gotten pretty far in creating our Train the Trainer session. And there's a flyer and registration info coming soon. I don't have that today, but it's coming up. So we'll save it. We'll share it as a save the date. December 6th, there's going to be an in-person session. Our location is still being determined, but it'll be a centrally located ISD, probably in the Lower Peninsula. We're also planning to run the same session February 19th virtually and March 14th in person. And the focus of that would be looking at connections between the SAT suite of assessments, the data that's produced, and high quality instruction. So really it's leading into our partnership with the Disciplinary Literacy Task Force. That's where a lot of these resources will be housed moving forward. The focus of this session is really going to be where does the SAT and PSAT data and reporting fit into a larger balanced assessment system, and what can it tell us, what can't it tell us, and how might we support our local districts as they receive their information from the College Board about these new tests, because it's going to look a little bit different. So those are some dates that we'll ask you to save, and then we'll have that information as soon as possible. Brad Brenner, our College Board rep for Michigan, one of them, shared with us some SAT suite updates. Good news about the PSAT and NMSQT. New accommodations are available starting in the fall for our English learners. So in the past, on the SAT, English learners would have additional accommodations that were not available for the PSAT and NMSQT administration. So those will be the same, and they include things like, for example, eligibility for additional time. So you can look more into those if that applies to you. And an update about how districts can monitor test day readiness for their schools in the secure site. And the new feature allows districts to view room assignments, test day toolkit access, proctor assignments, test day coordinator access, etc. So that's in the SSOR. And then on the next slide, there's some information about advanced placement. So 28 of the AP exams are now fully digital unless a student requires a paper pencil test due to accommodations. And the next AP course that will be offered is AP Business Principles. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to the website. And College Board is also kicking off their foray into CTE with a new Career Kickstart program. So their first offering is going to be around the topic of cybersecurity. And then the next Career Kickstart program will be in the medical sciences. And there's a link there where it says Career Kickstart so that you can kind of see what that program entails and some more information if that's something that would be beneficial for you. And of course, always watch the MDE Spotlight for the most current updates. So that's what I have for you. If there are any questions.
Any questions? If you're online, please post in the chat or unmute and speak up. And Liz, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and your role.
Yep, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Liz Leitz. I'm a secondary ELA consultant at Macomb ISD, and I am a member of the GELN SAT Task Force group and a couple of other groups across the state. So.
Yep, and so we'll take a few seconds. Thank you, Liz. If you wanted to make any particular notes around that, we do talk all the time about the audience of this group as a network, and we know that some of us carry K-5 responsibilities, some of us carry 612, some of us carry K-12. I hope I said that right, K-5, 612, or K-12. So we figured, or we have felt that it's good to continue these updates. And we're also trying to be better about making sure you understand who you're hearing from and what their role is. And so you can see Janelle on there as well. I also happen to sit on this particular task force with the SAT piece. So Liz, Janelle, and I are, amongst others, are representing English language arts at these meetings. So if you have any additional notes or other things or questions, Janice, go ahead.
The December event, is that for locals as well, or is that piece specifically for ISD consultants? Like,
All of that's a good question. All of these events are really aimed at preparing ISD personnel to support bringing that back into their local districts. So that it's not designed for local districts.
So Liz, is this similar to the one that they had last December, or is there going to be new stuff?
So it's going to be quite a bit different. Last December, the focus for the task force was getting everyone ready for the digital administration. We're happy to say that by most accounts, the digital administration went relatively smoothly. But the reporting that is coming out, that has come out from the spring testing, looks and feels a little bit different. We're also working to support some high leverage moves that we can make with regard to some of the data that we're getting from College Board. So we're going to look at the reporting and some of the different tools that are within the College Board's resources. So we'll go a little bit more deeply into that. The Skills Insight Report, for example, it will feel very different than what happened last year. So if you attended the sessions last year, this will not be a repeat of that.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions. And of course, Mark and Janelle and anybody else who's on here, feel free to add whatever I'm missing.
So another question
I would
here.
just, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, Mark.
Go ahead, Janelle.
I was just going to say that for folks that maybe have been leaning into Michigan Assessment Consortium's resources or, formative assessment, things like that, there we'll have a whole section on the December date of really thinking about how SAT data fits within a balanced assessment system. So I think that's an important thing to know if you've been thinking about balanced assessment systems and supporting your locals in that. This will be a really nice fit.
Yeah, I like Janelle is hinting at the idea that we're not trying to reinvent a wheel, but rather make connections to what a lot of the resources that are out there. So we're not coming up with like, hey, we've got the latest, greatest, but we're taking some of the resources you may be familiar with and maybe haven't had a chance to get to, and maybe we'll show those connections and how to make those. And I'll speak very broadly on that because the last couple of meetings I haven't been able to attend, and there might have been some shifts and other things, but I felt like Janelle really hinted toward that there. Online question that came through in the chat, question around how the new legislation on dyslexia will impact testing in the PSAT, SAT, and or AP classes. I think I can say with confidence that it's so recent. I know there has not been direct, at least as a task force conversation around it, but I'm sure that's something that will become part of what we talk about as we move forward, being that this is coming, but we probably will be getting more information from it, which stay tuned for that. That comes after lunch. We got a legislative update, and I went back and forth with Matthew Schuler, and I said, hey, I guess we got something to talk about that you didn't think we were going to have to talk about. And his reply back to me was, indeed. So we'll see what he has to share. So thanks for that question online. I know that's not the answer you were hoping for, but I'm sure it will come up. All right, Janelle, if you don't mind introducing yourself as well.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Janelle Williams. I'm at Oakland Schools, and I'm a literacy consultant, and I focus solely on secondary, like Liz. And I'm also one of the co-chairs of the Disciplinary Literacy Task Force. So a few updates for people. The first is that I think for those of you that have been on these meetings previously, you heard me talk about how the standards for the quote unquote required reading course for secondary teacher prep candidates had been revised. They are now called the Disciplinary Literacy Teacher Prep Standards. And I've been working with some folks to create a whole host of resources to support higher ed orgs that will need to revise their courses this year to align to these updated standards and then have it approved next year. And so to kind of kick off this whole conversation, we collaborated with MDE and had a webinar recently. So I hyperlinked in that information in case maybe you have some higher ed colleagues, or maybe you, like me, serve as an adjunct, just wanting to keep that on your awareness. And even if you're not connected with higher ed, I think it's a good news scenario that moving forward, we'll have new teachers that have had some exposure to this idea of disciplinary literacy and can potentially, help spread that conversation wherever they get hired. So that's exciting. And then the next thing is to talk about the Michigan Assessment Consortium's Assessment Learning Network series. Yesterday was actually our kickoff event in person in East Lansing. We had a great day together. Dr. Elizabeth Moji was our keynote speaker. It was phenomenal, and she had lots of thoughts to add about the recent dyslexia legislation. So it was nice to hear how she was thinking about it in terms of impact on adolescents and those of us that teach at secondary. And it's not too late. So even if you missed the kickoff and you're thinking, oh, I'm kind of interested in that, our next 2 sessions will be virtual webinars. And we have an expert speaking from the lens of mathematics and an expert speaking from the lens of ELA. And then the series will continue into next year with experts in other disciplines. So our focus on this is about components of equitable assessment systems, specifically thinking about elements of disciplinary literacy. So it's another collaboration between 2 statewide groups. And I would just invite you to share it with your locals, and we'd of course love to see you join as well. The next thing is that Wayne Risa is kind and generous enough to open up. They are hosting a school-wide practices event in November on the 19th, where we'll engage in some shared learning collectively, but then offer breakouts that are specific to portions of the school-wide practices. And of course, we're honing in on the 612 version, but for folks that maybe work at a K-12 level, this would be a nice way to make some connections to the elementary version of the organizational practices and think about it from a district standpoint. So really hope that you'll consider registering and maybe sharing that with folks so that we're supporting a K-12 focus on literacy, not just elementary, but secondary as well. And then we are gearing up to offer a summer symposium on secondary instruction. It'll be hosted at Oakland Schools, June 16th and 17th. We weren't able to have our event last June. The timing just wasn't great. And so we're going to try again. And this is for teachers that have been introduced to disciplinary literacy and are ready to really dig deeply into their curricular and instructional materials and start to make some intentional shifts. And then also, just in case you missed it, we have the Beyond the Core guide that is a companion to the instructional practices and focuses on what literacy looks like in electives courses or unified arts. We all have different names for them. Some people call them encore courses. And then we also have the PLC Quick Start Guide, which guides teachers, whether they call themselves a PLC or not, in collaborative inquiry cycles around disciplinary literacy. Knowing that we never have enough PD days built into our calendar, this tool is meant to support teachers in having some agency and moving their learning forward. And even though the examples are around the DL practices, it could certainly be applied with the other versions of the literacy documents. And then I hyperlinked to, I just created an interactive PDF in case you were wondering who is on the disciplinary literacy task force and where are they located and how can I contact them? This is a visual representation of who's on our team. So you can connect with someone that's maybe close to you regionally. And I think that's all I have for DL. I did also keep the slide, Mark, with just a reminder about those MESA ELA units. I know I shared it last year, but just in case questions are coming up from folks like, hey, I'm trying to find the K5 MESA ELA units and they're gone, and what do I do? Just a reminder that the K5 units are no longer live. We do have ways to connect folks with them. Oh, sounds like someone needs to mute.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay. We do at OS have a way of connecting folks if, you know, they're panicking, saying, wait a minute, we were planning on using the units and now they're gone. We can help with that. But that the Michigan Middle School ELA units are not going anywhere. They're, you know, aligned with current research, so there's no need for them to go away. And then there's nothing planned to remove the 912 units either. So just wanted to have that at your fingertips in case a local reaches out to you. You can send them my way or Aisha's way, because Aisha's there too. And we can help them out. So that's all I have.
Any questions online or in the room? All right, well, thank you,
Hi,
Janelle.
Annie. Thanks, everybody.
I'm glad Janelle included that because there might be some districts that didn't realize yet, and I still do get questions myself around the 6, 8, and 9, 12 units, because once something goes away, they assume the other is on its way as well, so it's good to get that out there. All right, I think we're back to you, Liz.
Thanks, Mark. I'm wearing my second hat, my 50th hat, as we all do, right? I'm also the current president of Michigan Reading Association, and we are excited to announce that our spring conference is going to be in March this year in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The date was changed from the original date. Originally, it was at the end of March, and I know we got some feedback that conflicted with some people's spring breaks. So we worked with our conference location at DeVos in Grand Rapids, and they were able to work with us to switch it to the first weekend of March. So that is the correct date for the conference. We're excited that our Saturday keynote speaker is going to be Wiley Blevins, sponsored by Benchmark Education. I sound like an ad. Sorry about that. I'm just excited about it.
Good morning.
But I think it's going to be really great. We've also extended our call for proposals. So we have quite a few wonderful proposals submitted so far. But if you were thinking, wow, I'd love to present, or we have this cool thing happening, our call for proposals has been extended until October 15th. So you have a couple more weeks to get your proposals in for our conference. And then if you want to move to the next slide. Oh, the conference theme is read it in, write it out. So it's really exciting. We've been noodling around a lot of really cool ideas about that. We have some book studies offered by our Adolescent Literacy Committee, and these are open to members and non-members. We're really excited about Jared Amato's Just Read It. That's a newer book. If you're interested in joining that group, you can register following the link. There's one link for all the book studies, and then we have a couple novel studies. So you just get the book on your own, and then you join us for these dates. It's all virtual, and there are sketches available. For the professional book study, it actually starts Thursday, and we're going to read it the adolescent literacy chair people, they are going to facilitate a way to process the book while we are in the book study. So if you're interested in reading this book, but you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have time to read it before Thursday, obviously, if you can get a copy of the book, then you'll be prepared. We are not expecting anybody to read it before those days. And then you can see a couple of the other novel studies that we're going to do together in the spring. And then the next slide. Great Lakes Great Book Awards voting is open. If you know about our Great Lakes Great Book Awards, we take nominations throughout the kind of like spring to fall for our Great Lakes Great Books Award nominees. And now is the time when you and your students can vote on them. So we've seen some really cool things happen at school-wide levels or classroom levels. Anyone can vote. You don't have to be a member of MRA, but if you want to get some great ideas for titles for your classrooms or classroom libraries, or maybe for your own personal reading, there are different categories by grade level, and we've seen teachers do some really cool things with these books in the past to celebrate Michigan books and authors. So that is exciting. Resources there. And our awards nominations windows are open. I am sad to report that last year we did not have any educator awards. I will repeat that. Last year we did not have any educators nominated for an excellent educator award, and that is not possible because I know how many amazing educators there are across the state. We've changed the application process as well because I think that it was a little cumbersome. So think about amazing teachers and educators, could be administrators or adult educators within your region or your ISD, and think about submitting someone or sharing this with the folks that you support as well. We also offer literacy awards, and these can be for individuals or local agencies and organizations. So that could recognize a reading council, a library, or other community members or authors in your area, nominate them for an MRA award and get them some feedback and some gratitude for the work that they do. Our Kaleidoscope student writing contest is for students in grades K through 12th grade. We get one entry per school, and there's information on that link about how to connect students with the Kaleidoscope Student Writing Journal. It's a really great activity. And if you're on the west side of the state, MRA does host a luncheon to recognize those student authors. It's not so much a contest as just a publication and a chance for your student writing to be published. And the last award that I'll share is the 30 Under 30 Award. So like we said in a lot of prior conversations, one of the things that our organization wants to do is to celebrate these rising innovators, disruptors, and visionaries in the literacy field, and also some of our pre-service and early career teachers and literacy supporters as well. So if you're connected to teacher prep programs, maybe someone in the Grow Your Own program that you wanted to nominate, who are under 30 years old, and sometimes you have to be a little sneaky to figure that out. Nominate them for a 30 Under 30 award. It's a really great way, again, to recognize some wonderful work that's happening across our state.
And I completely just added something onto your beautiful slide, Liz. Just a reminder that we're always looking for submissions for Michigan Reading Journal.
Yes.
We're really looking for submissions for Michigan Reading Journal. So reach out if you have some ideas or you want to submit something. I'm happy to be.
Sounds good. And Dana, I see your comment in the chat to me that the nomination forms on the website are closed. Okay, well, they're not closed. So I will get in touch with our executive director. Thanks for letting me know. So I will make sure that that information is available. Thanks for letting me know. Any questions for me? Registration for our March conference is currently open as well. So if you know you want to attend because it will be amazing and you would like to write it out with us in Grand Rapids in March, secure your spot and be one of the first.
All right, thanks again, Liz.
Hi, Mark. Thanks. Hi, everybody. It's great to see you all. I'm Annie Spear and I work at MAISA. I'm currently serving MAISA as the project director for Michigan Learning Channel because we have had a partnership with the Michigan Learning Channel since around the pandemic where they were wanting to create online content and some literacy series. So they leveraged MAISA and the resources that we had not only for documents like all of the Literacy Essentials documents, but the amazing individuals within our community that we work with, like literacy coaches who supported the creation of the K3 Read, Write, Roar show. And then they did 12 episodes for the pre-K Read, Write, Roar, which Janice Miller was a coach for. And now I'm going to share with you a lot of new exciting things today about the 4-5 Read, Write, Roar that has just officially launched. So I tried to capture what all the updates are on this one slide that Mark has up for us right now. And then there's basically like a slide about each of the things that you'll see in the bullets. But really excited about 4-5. We know that's been a black hole, not by choice or by want to leave out instructional supports for grades 4 and 5 teachers, but just the way that the funding had run. So we did as much as we could with that over the years through MAISA. And so this being an opportunity that Detroit Public Television received the grant from Michigan Learning Channel and said, what should we do? So when they reached out and they asked, what would be a good thing? And I was thinking, oh my goodness, if we could do 4-5. So there's been a lot of partnership in that since last, we started meeting and talking probably in September, but the actual real work started in December. Janice has been serving for a coach with that. I serve for that work in review after Janice has worked with the teachers that are on it and the content creators and work on reviewing the scripts and checking alignment to the essentials. And so we've had a great partnership and now these are all starting to launch. And so in a minute, I'll show you like a little bit more of that glimpse. As part of this work, we've continued to try and connect what we've done over several years. And because the K3 was the first show and it happens to have 224 episodes that are connected to the Literacy Essentials, it's the broadest set of assets, I would say, just because of the way that the funding worked. And all the teachers and coaches had used a lesson planning guide that was developed over time to help us scope the work and know what we're doing and talk across grade levels. And so we each did our own at each grade level for the work. And then we had help from Dr. Rhonda Provost, who some of you may know, and Janice were hired as consultants to go through and streamline and look for any errors and make sure that those were all appropriately represented and that the links worked. So for me, I'm always thinking, how do we make things as easy as possible? So in a moment, I'll show you, we have all of those linked on a one pager so that you can get to all of those. It's been a tremendous lift initially with the coaches and teachers on the K3 show, and then moving into Janice and Rhonda, looking through all of those for us. And so we're just really excited they're out there for you. And I might ask Mark in a minute when I get to that slide to like click on a few things for me. The other thing that's been sort of a dream of mine that was able to come to fruition this year through a couple of amazing partnerships at MAISA and Detroit PBS was the fact that when we filmed the show, ironically, Janelle is thinking of you because I had written an article in the Michigan Reading Journal around COVID time because I had started teaching online lessons for free during that time. And so when I was brought into the project, that was one of the things they wanted was like, what were you doing with that? And so we have lesson types that are kind of based on ones that I did for free during the pandemic. A lot of them are, but then we had some other ones that we added to that as a group of coaches. And so to me, as an educator, if you want to be able to use these resources, you kind of need to have something that makes it easy to find them. And it's helpful to know what types of lessons are on the show and how they connect to literacy strands that you'd be working on. And so I had pitched this idea a couple of years ago and we didn't have capacity. And then Erin Pell came on because I thought, oh, it would be great if these were connected in my strategy bank. Then we had Erin Pell come to MAISA and she's a full-time person that works on MyRead and my Coach Compass. And she and I were at MRA, all these MRA connections. And she was like, oh my God, it'd be so great if parents could have access to these. And I said, yeah, I know, like, how can we do that? So we've been working for a while. we met and sat through what are the lesson types, what are the skills that are in those, so that eventually they, hopefully in the next few months, will be connected and available in the strategy bank with IRIPs. So that way, if a student has a particular skill they need to work on, let's say they're working on phonemic awareness and segmenting and blending and phonics, well, we can connect that right in the strategy bank with lesson types like word letters lesson types and mystery word lesson types. And so due to that, when Erin and I worked, then our Detroit PBS partners, Megan Elias there was amazing. So she made these playlists. So now it's super easy that you can go to their YouTube channel and you can actually search a type of lesson and then pull up all of the ones K3 that were taught that are connected to that type of skill, that type of work that you'd want kids to do. If you're a teacher and you know your kids like to do word letters, right? And you have a sub that's coming in, you could just leave that sub lesson, have an activity guide with it. So that's super exciting. And because of that too, there's now these playlists for grades 4 or 5 with the new show that's coming out, which is really exciting. And then the other one that I really wanted to share with all of you, because to me, it's a like pre-K-12 resource, is that there's something called Impact at Home, which was developed and researched through the University of Michigan.
Last 2 years, but
Sorry.
the handwriting.
I think Mark's gonna mute someone for me.
There you go.
Thank you. You're the best. So the Impact at Home are short exercise videos. These particular ones they put together thinking of using them with the 4 or 5 show. But really they could be used and sort of modified, I think, across many levels or for yourself if you need a little break at school. One of the things that Matt Hamilton at Detroit PBS has talked to me about is how do we communicate that through, and U of M really wants us to make sure that it's not like a brain break. It's actually, they're meant to be a brain energizer for readiness. And the way that the research team did those is that these exercises actually support you to be ready to learn, not to give your brain a break from learning. So I think that's just a really cool aspect to know, and those are nested within the episodes of the 4 or 5 that are full form, but they're also in their own playlist now. And the final thing in the bulleted list would be this Building the Reading Brain, which is produced by WKAR, and Dr. Nell Duke and Dr. Laura Tortorelli are in it. And oh my goodness, the Ebley founder, Nora Chomsky, I'm probably saying her name wrong. My brain is trying to remember what it looks like, trying to map it, everybody, but it's not working right. But anyway, she is featured in that. And also like neuroscientists are in this video to prepare early childhood educators and families to understand how your brain develops and how we can support them. So that's like really awesome. We were able to show it at the Coaching Institute. It was well received, and people are looking to figure out ways to use that. Thank you, Rebecca Miles. I'm like, I know someone on here is going to know how to say, and I'm like, my brain can't. So Nora Chabazi, am I right now? Is that, did I say it right? Hopefully. Rebecca, you can unmute.
Shabazi. It's Nora
Shabazi. Shabazi with a sh. Okay, thanks. See, it's good. Thank you for helping me, Rebecca. So anyhow, that is a really excellent 26-minute video. There's a note about that in your slide deck for you. On the right-hand side, you'll see I've been doing some monthly SMORE newsletters. So if you want to see like all the updates as they progress in different things, that's a deeper dive for you. And the big thing in the yellow star for our 5 through 12 educators, Matt Hamilton at Detroit PBS created something called Iconic Michigan, which is connected to the Iconic America series, which looks into really particular places around the United States and leverages those for learning. And so he created a fellowship last year. I had the privilege to go and meet all the fellows from last year and be in this culminating experience with them where they talked about what they did with their kids. So I linked that into, so Mark, if you'll like indulge me and go to the next slide real quick, this just will highlight. This slide here gives you a glimpse into a few of the different episodes, not episodes, I'm sorry, segments of episodes on the Read Write Roar Upper Elementary. And they are broken up into small segments of 6 minutes long or 4 minutes long. The 6-minute segments are done with, you know, a certified educator in Michigan. The 4-minute segments are done by educators in terms of like the type of work they do. Like Paul Rush, you see on there, he's a naturalist. So then you'll see Danielle Defoe, who's a professor at University of Michigan Dearborn and chair there too in their department. And Brian Roos Pearson, who is an online educator in Rochester Hills, I think. And then Brittany Mora, who you see, she's in the orange box there. She had taught for us for the K3 show and came back. We worked really hard. Part of my job was the onboarding to create slides so that the teachers were prepared. And so we went through, there's an onboarding process with alignment to the research. So teachers had that. And I worked with Dr. Tortorelli to ask her, like, you know, here's what I'm thinking. Janice and I talked, like, we're thinking we want multisyllabic word decoding to be really important and highlighted because that's an area where teachers struggle. So there are a lot of multi-syllabic decoding pieces that Brittany in particular did for us for the show. So just want you to know that there's tons of links within every page. So I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but if you see a full episode, because they run live on TV, it's 26 minutes. And so there'll be like 2 episodes, 2 shorter episodes within that. There's a episode with the impact will be in those episodes for the brain readiness exercise. And then there's also a beautiful woman, Miss Audra, who does music pieces in there to get you ready for learning, and those are really cool. So the vision of the 4-5 show is very different from K3 and very unique in terms of how it's done. So I hope that's enjoyable. And then I am going to get to Val asked about the building the reading brain. So real quick on the next slide, you're going to see that this is where the
Welcome everyone. Rosie the Riveter here. Just teasing. It's just me. I'm
They're
Sorry,
all-
Mark.
You set me up, Annie.
I was just gonna say, I did not mean to set you up. I didn't know
That's
it was
okay.
going to like go through
We got through
it.
over here.
If you were sleeping, you're awake now and energized for this, okay? So this is that lesson plan guide, that one-stop shopping resource. Again, it has every lesson plan, every episode from K3 in it. Mark, do you mind like clicking on that lesson plan guide page just so we can do a quick peek? Hope I'm not taking like way too long. Oh, sorry. If you, let's see, within, it should say link, I
Oh,
think.
good.
Hold on. Let me see, I can
That would be
put
fine.
it, this link there in the bottom.
Is that it?
Hold on, I'm gonna put it in the chat for you, I think. If I can copy the link, it should go, well, let me make sure, unless I messed up on my slides here. It should go to that that one pager situation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, let me put this in the chat if that's helpful. Oh, and so the monthly smart, I love that you want to sign up for it. So I'm trying to figure that out. I know when you want it, if you put your name in the chat, like I've been trying to share it with the coaching network and it goes to the ISD soups, but I'd love to share it with any of you. I've posted like on LinkedIn and like my Facebook like page, but I never know the best way. So if anyone wants that, would love to know that. The lesson plan guide that I put in the chat, sorry, Mark, and we don't have to do that. What I can do is like, just click on one of them and also put that in the chat. This happens to be, yep, there you go. If you click on anyone, just pick a grade level, pick a period, a marking period. Okay. So this is grade 2. That's going to look really familiar. Janice is a coach for grade 2. Every one of these has this cover page with resources that we use. So that's kind of packed with its own resources. And then as you move into it, it will have every single lesson that we did, the alignment. So like this front page tells you all the read alouds that would be in this marking period, which they call a season because it's on TV. And so as you click through, if you can just go one more page down for me, Mark. Thank you for being my navigator. Okay, so you can see here, like we had a theme for each one and we toggle back and forth between connections to science and social studies throughout the show in each grade level. And so it kind of will say, here's the theme. These are the big ideas or unit questions. And then each episode is laid out for you. So you know exactly what skills were taught during that, if something was read aloud, if there was writing done, what the genre was, all of that are in these. So it was a huge lift that Rhonda and Janice went through and like made sure they all aligned and the links worked. So there's a QR code to get to the episode, but if you click on the episode number, like this 201 that's highlighted, it actually takes you to the Michigan Learning Channel page so that you can see that full episode and everything in it. And then the activity guide goes with the episode. So that's supporting them to understand like what we did in the video. And if you wanted to print something off, you could. So there's a lot. If any of you want to ever chat more, I'm happy to, but I know other people have really important things to share, so I will stop talking. Just that this has been like a couple years long lift, and I'm really so excited that it's out there and want people to know it's there. So that resource is there. So you're going to have 4 marking periods. There's 16 per marking period. So pretty exciting. The next 2 are just like fun for you to look at pictures of the fact that there's YouTube playlists, and I wanted you to see what those look like. So if you click to the next slide for me, Mark, thank you. You're being like really being a good driver for me, Mark, and I appreciate you. With my sabotage of links that we're gonna like start screaming songs at you and everything, you're still like going. But if you click to the next one that says YouTube playlists, maybe you'll just see that there's a bunch of again, things I talked about. So you just know that like teachers can easily find them. You can get one for a sub plan, or if you have like a an IEP meeting that you're going to or something like that. Sorry, Mark, is it letting you, it wouldn't let you click to the next one.
Okay.
But you can also, oh, and I didn't even see there. Now I can see Shannon Fuller, who's one of the teachers on the show. Her beautiful face just showed up, and Shannon was a coach in 1st grade, and she's a 2nd grade teacher on the show. So lots of, what I love about the show is that it's all across Michigan. That's representation across Michigan. And so that makes my heart happy because there's so much talent. I think about the talent and all of you in this room, and that's a small like microcosm of that is represented in the shows for Read Write Roar. So you can see there's tons more playlists, and then that's like not very exciting, but just to get a sense of all the different kinds of playlists there are. And the very last slide is what, or second to last slide is what a lot of people of you are asking about, the Building the Reading Brain. That slide will link you to the actual video, which is 26 minutes. There's a 2-minute trailer, and there's also a panel discussion link, which Dr. Usiak's in. I'm currently working with Robin Pizzo, who's the producer, because when I saw it, I was like so excited and thought like, oh my God, what if we had facilitator guides? So we are actually working right now to create a toolkit for this that can go with Building the Reading Brain, so that you will have it for any audience you want to facilitate a discussion with. So that's one of my first big projects this fall, is to work with Robin on that. And you know, her being the producer, she has all like the production aspect end of it. And I'm working with the like, how would we frame this well for, you know, educators that are working with, you know, birth through pre-K and, you know, going into kindergarten, like young 5s and families. And we have a lot of community stakeholders that want to show this, like the Black Church Alliance in Detroit, like they want to do this and facilitate discussions with families. So that's exciting. All that's there. And the very last slide is a little nod to our friends in 512 about Iconic Michigan. The application for that is coming up and it's due October 11th, and there is an informational session October 3rd. So all that is in that link, and you can get to that. And then if you want to see what kids did last year, there's a really cool playlist link where you see how kids took media with their teachers into their classrooms and created learning projects. And so when you work with Matt in this opportunity, you basically go through the year starting, I think he's going to be starting things like he'll do the first lunch now, and then you really start working this fall, but you get the media kits and all that work started in January till kids get to production and see kind of media literacy brought to life in their learning in their classrooms. So I just talked really fast. I'm sorry. So I was trying to squeeze a lot in for y'all, but it's all in there. There's links, and I'll send anyone who gave me their address number. I'll send you this more too. So I appreciate you all. Thanks, Mark, for being a driver for me.
Thanks, Annie. All right, so hopefully you had a chance to put some things down. Annie, there were a couple things in the chat you could sneak back, but thank you so much for those different pieces. Rusty, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Annie, you're the best, by the way. Good morning, everyone. I see many familiar faces, but if we have yet to have the chance to meet, I'm Rusty Anderson. I work on the early math team for MAISA, supporting mathematics work in pre-K through 5 classrooms across the state. You should be asking yourself, who let a crazy math guy into this meeting with you all? There is somewhat of an answer to that. We structure a lot of programming with the funding that we have that is really mathy, where we talk about a lot of math content. But in addition to that, we have quite a few systems level or adult learning level opportunities that we offer to our math stakeholders, which are content agnostic. And we've had a lot of literacy friends, many of you, who have joined in on the fun with our math friends. So what I'm bringing to you today is just a quick update on some of the programming that we have that is not necessarily math specific. It's more systems focused or adult learning focused that, yes, it might be branded early math, but it really is applicable to more than just early math and probably not just elementary as well. So I'll bring you these 4 quick updates. Know that I'm going to say a few words. You can always reach out to me if you have any questions. And also in the notes of each of these slides are the link to the flyer and or the link to the registration so that you all can register if you would like. Each of these 4 opportunities are designed for both ISD leaders and local district leaders. So if you see something that interests you or may interest one of the local district leaders that you support, feel free to share. We are inclusive at all spaces possible. So let's get into the first one, which is a course that we've had for a few years now, Adult Learning Principles. On the next slide, you'll see the flyer. I'll give a short speech to what that is and create a little clarity around the days. In short, our Adult Learning Principles course is structured to support all of us in learning about how to facilitate adult learning and meetings with adults. So it's really about the structures and the capacities and the skill sets for all of us to run a successful event. There are 2 options that are face-to-face, one in Lansing, one in Mount Pleasant. The dates are coming up for this course. So if you're interested or know someone that might be interested, you might want to act quickly on those. Our Adult Learning Principles course always follow face-to-face learning with virtual follow-up so that we can continue the learning and the conversation over the course of the year. So know that in the notes, the registration link is there. If you are interested, feel free to share as well, like I said earlier. The virtual follow-ups are 2 hour, I believe, on the 3 dates that are on that slide. Thanks, Mark. On the next one, we have had quite a few hundreds of people go through our Adult Learning Principles course, and usually the feedback says, we want more. How can we go deeper? So last year we developed a course that is a follow-up to our Adult Learning Principles structure, which we call Beyond Meeting Mechanics. It is a 1-day face-to-face opportunity to learn and continue the conversation and dive a little deeper from our Adult Learning Principles structure. That one is November 20th coming up this fall. In the notes, again, is the flyer, which will also link you to the registration. Up next is a structure that we created for our early math friends, knowing that we have a lot of math coaches across the state, and there hasn't been any real coherent way to support coaches in mathematics around their skill sets. And what we found is that this virtual course is not just helpful for our mathy friends, but it's helpful for anyone with the role of coach. This content is not a coaching model specific content. It's really skill sets and capabilities that we support the people who join the virtual series with that can be applied to any coaching model that people might use. So know that they are all virtual. I would say of anything, this is a set of sessions or a course that is an easy lift for all of us because we can join virtually 4 times throughout the year. The feedback from this, as we ran it the first time last year, was phenomenal, and I expect it to be the same this time. I look forward to each of these 4 dates. Know that in the notes, again, is the link to a flyer and or the registration. The first date's coming up quite soon. Since it is virtual, we have a pretty large maximum number on this one. So feel free to register and share with your friends if continuing to learn around coaching capabilities and skill sets is of interest to you in your role. And last but not least is an upcoming event around instructional rounds. If you are friendly with the early math work, you know we've been doing some learning lab trainings, train the trainer for how to facilitate learning labs in your context. In addition to that work, we tested out last year an instructional rounds train the trainer, and this is going to be our second iteration of that. It's refined slightly to make it even better. We've added one we have the training like we did last year, but we've added 2 options following that training to actually experience an instructional round facilitated by the facilitator of our training. So you'll see that December 16, we have a training scheduled in Midland. And then the day after that, we have an opportunity to observe and be a part of an instructional round process. And then in or across the state, so that we can give some people more access, we have the next day after that, December 18, an opportunity that will be coming to be a part of an instructional round in West Michigan area. Still zeroing in on the location for that one, but that one will be coming soon. The registration for each of these are open. I think this opportunity just opened maybe a day or 2 ago. I think we have a max of 100 and probably no one's registered yet because you're probably the first group that we're even sharing it with. So if instructional rounds are of interest to you, in addition to all of the other job embedded supports that you all provide at the classroom and system level, feel free to register, feel free to share with a friend. And please reach out if there's any questions about any of this. I know I cruised right through, but you should have the resources you need to answer some of the questions on the flyers and the registration. I'll pause for a minute to see if there are any clarifying questions, and then I'll get out of your way so you can continue the literacy focused conversation. Great. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone. And know that I'm happy to collaborate if anybody would like to connect. Have a great week, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Rusty. Dot, are you on?
I am. I'm right here.
Excellent. So excited to have Dot in. I'll let her introduce herself, but we'd had Ben Vorkel in and he retired and Dot's taking his place. So please go ahead. Thanks for being here, Dot.
Good morning. My name is Dot Blackwell. I am the new MyKIP lead for the MDE. My contact information is there available for you. Please reach out if you have any questions about MyKIP, the process, the platform, the mindset. I just want to take a couple of minutes to do some highlights. We do have some platform updates. You do get in our CC newsletter some of this information, as well as you get a bulletin that comes out with our releases. But I sort of really want to focus on the resource equity modal. That is new. It's embedded into the platform. It's not new to the process. Everybody's been working with resource equity with their process and continuous improvement, but now we're making it very obvious in the assess needs area where a team, if it does not have an existing data story and they're starting anew, that box will be required. If you have an existing data story, it's there available, but not required. But I will advocate for everyone to take a look at it. It's got a lot of good information that district teams should be looking at. There's also hyperlinks within that box that push you out into some more documents and some questionnaires to help with additional data sets around resource allocation and making sure we're being equitable for all our students. The second highlight has not appeared yet, but will be coming out in our new release coming up here at the end of October. And that's a new hexagon reflection box. So when you're in the platform and you have gotten to strategies and you're starting to consider a strategy for your continuous improvement plan, you go through the hexagon box, but there's never been a place to actually store your reflections. And the MyKIP platform really functions as a repository of the organization's thinking so that it's there through turnover and through time so that everyone remembers what the conversation was at the time. And it's also a way of emphasizing that you may look at a strategy and you may not be ready for it, but it still stays there and you'll have your notes for the time when you are ready to include it as a part of your continuous improvement plan. The second major highlight I want to share with you is transforming district continuous improvement through MyKIP. We are on the road. The road show is coming to you at an ISD or RESA nearby. Everyone is welcome to attend. It starts at 9 in the morning, goes to noon with a real in-depth professional learning piece. Ben will be leading that with our team. And then the afternoon after lunch, we're going to get down and dirty in the platform. And I'll be hands-on helping district teams navigate through that platform. If any of those locations are nearby and you want to register, just send me an email and I will give you the link so that you can register and join us. Ben wanted me to also share that there's a virtual statewide MyKIP 101 training. If anyone is interested in signing up for that on Friday, October 25th. And the final point that I really want to emphasize is we have a new strategy bank curator for MDE. His name is Dave Carlson. He is really excited about helping folks with strategies, not only looking for strategies, but also in the development of strategies. So please reach out if you would interested in his help. He's willing to help anybody with strategies. And with that, that sort of sums up everything that we're doing with MyKIP right now. And I'm also available for MyKIP refreshers. If a district wants to jump on and walk through the platform together, I'm willing to do that. Just reach out to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dot. Thanks for being flexible too, as we made connections to get you connected with the group and the slides and all that. Appreciate you updating those things and making that happen. All right, Kelly and or Sandy, I think I saw both of you.
Yep, we're both here.
Perfect.
Hi. I'm just gonna give some grant updates. So 35A4, the ISD Early Literacy Coach Grant, will open next Thursday, October 10th in Nexus. All grants will be in Nexus this year. The deadline to apply will be November 11th. Since there was no increase in funding this year, all ISDs are eligible to maintain their coaching allocation from fiscal year 24. So if your ISD had 16 allocations, you can have 16 allocations again in fiscal year 25. The additional instructional time grant is opening this Thursday, October 3rd. And then the deadline to apply for that one will be November 4th. And again, that will be in Nexus as well. We're having districts build their budget in Nexus based on a per pupil allocation of $197, which is if every single eligible district applied, that's what the per pupil funding would be. And then after the application closes and I calculate the actual per pupil funding for fiscal year 25, we'll have districts go in and amend to reflect the correct amount. The year 2 amendment for 35J is open now. Anybody that had applied received an email from me with instructions on what they need to do for their amendment. Basically, districts need to provide a roster of their pre-K to 5 staff and the professional learning they have taken or are going to take. And then also a link to the district's website that clearly shows the name of the curriculum and the benchmark being used for grades pre-K to 5. So once they have those two pieces, we can approve their funding for year 2. So this grant, just as a refresher, was it's a 2-year grant and 50% was awarded in fiscal year 24, and then 50% is awarded in fiscal year 25. We're reiterating to because what's slightly different about this one versus some of the other 35A grants is there is no carryover on this grant. So all funds have to be spent by September 30th, 2025, or they have to be returned. And then I'm going to turn it over to Sandy to talk about letters in 35M and N.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Sandy Youngert. And letters 35A10, cohort 8 kicks off. The kickoff webinar is this coming Monday, October 7th. And participants will receive their manuals in October, but training officially starts in November. We have a healthy cohort. There's a little over 1,400 participants in the elementary letters training, almost 200 in the early childhood cohort, and right around 150 in the admin cohort. As the slide says, cohort 9 registration is open until December 1st, and that training will begin February of 2025. 35M and 35N updates, our new grants. So the first step in this is for MDE to develop a process to identify and assemble experts to serve on the Literacy Achievement Committee, who will take charge of both grants. Next, MDE will appoint those members, and then once formed, the primary focus of the committee is to recommend tools and strategies, of course, with the overarching goal of increasing student academic outcomes in literacy. So per legislation, the committee must include representatives of higher education and also early literacy educators with expertise in literacy instruction and research. Kind of the big message in this is there's more to come. We're in the process of planning informational webinars to support 35M, 35N, as well as current laws 567 and 568. So we'll keep the Michigan educational community informed as those updates become available. So I'll stop there for any questions.
Yeah, I saw there was a couple things in the chat that I can address. So, Shelley asked, can we reach out to you again and make sure our districts apply for 35A grants as previously? Yes, I still, even though it's going to be in Nexus, I still plan to do the spreadsheet that many of you are familiar with, where it's sorted by ISD and I highlight green if they've applied. Yes, I'm going to maintain that. And then, so this is related to 35J. Can the roster be in Google Sheets? So yes, but you're going to have to basically copy it into a Word document and upload the Word document. So it can link to the Google Sheet. I just ask that you make sure the Google Sheet will be accessible, because we've had a few of those where someone sends me a link and then I can't open it. So then I'm going to send it back for modifications. So yes, that's fine. It just needs to be accessible. We're 567 and 568 approved. We're still waiting for the governor to officially sign. Again, more information will be coming on next steps for that.
All right, Kelly, does that maybe mean referring to the spreadsheets? I think we did this last year. You send me a spreadsheet and I send it to the group.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I typically do is I send it weekly at first, and then as we get closer, like 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. So if you
So
want,
yeah, I can do that.
If you want to just be sure to loop me in that, then I will
Sure.
forward it to the group.
Kelly?
Yep.
Can I just ask a question? Have districts been made aware of the additional instructional time grant? Did I miss that in the memo?
No, the memo's coming out Thursday.
Okay. Whew, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, and the memo that's coming out this Thursday will actually notify you of both grants. It'll just say that, so additional instructional time is actually opening this Thursday, but coaching won't open till next Thursday.
Sandy online asking more about 35M and N. Are there any more parameters maybe you could give just as initially, like it's big picture?
Yeah, sorry about that. I closed my screen inadvertently. So 35M is, there'll be a literacy achievement committee who's going to rate and rank like high quality instructional materials, professional learning, and once they early literacy assessments, once they come out with this list, then districts will have the opportunity to apply for funding to purchase these things or to use them if they wish to do so. 35N is actually a contest, and it's about innovation in literacy instruction. And again, more details to follow on that as the parameters are set by the Literacy Achievement Committee. Heidi, does that answer your questions? Kind of an overview.
Are there websites on either of those grant? Like, does MDE have anything like linked?
Is there anything currently linked or maybe plans to do such when you get more?
There's plans to do so. We are talking about webinars, FAQs, that kind of thing, but it doesn't exist yet.
Janice is saying she's all right then for now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
As are the rest of us. We're good. We got
Okay.
enough 35 ABCs and
I know. I said I talk to many of you frequently, so
yeah.
but
All right,
those
well,
are things are rolling here. It's busy, so we
Yep.
appreciate the support and the opportunity to give updates.
Yep, and thanks as always to the two of you.
Yep.
And then if you just
Thank
want to
you.
keep sending those to me, Kelly, the spreadsheets, I'll keep sending them out to the group.
Yep, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Nikki or Phoebe?
Is Nikki on? This first slide is hers, although she's not. Well, I can just take it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So these first things are updates that are to the ELA test specifically. First, the passage-based writing enhancement. all students are now going to have the option to listen to the context on the passage-based writing option only. In that third bullet point where it says it mirrors the online listening test layout, that means that when students look at that item on the screen, it's not going to be like TTS where it highlights if you don't have TTS assigned. It's going to be like the listening item where they press the play button and they can listen to that whole context, or they can read it. Students who do have TTS assigned are still going to be able to use TTS for that passage as well. The passage-based writing field test is not going to be offered this year, so thanks for everyone who's participated in that. And there may be more information about that coming in future years, but for this year, that is not going to be offered. These next slides, you can find all of this information also on the MSTEP webpage. If you go there, it's www.michigan.gov/MSTEP. And this is in a presentation under what's new. It's called Enhanced Student Experience, the DRC Insight Enhanced Student Experience. And this is that DRC has changed what the testing engine is going to look like this year. You can view those changes right now in the OTTs and the tutorials. And I have a slide in here that is shares links to those resources because this is buttons have moved around on the page. So this is going to look different to students. And so this, of course, impacts the ELA test, but it also will impact every other test. So make sure that you're sharing this information with all of your networks because it's new information that we're going to want folks to be aware of way ahead of time. So if we can go to the next slide, I can start to show you what that looks like. So the action tools and buttons in the upper left, that's how they navigate. Students are used to navigating from the bottom of the screen on the lower right, so that the next buttons are in a different place. All of those universal tools and accommodated buttons are basically in the same place where they were, although they look different than they used to. The item format and the item layout is not changing. It's only all the stuff that's on the outside. So it'll be important that students have opportunities to practice on that. This shows you where those navigation buttons are, where the universal tools are, and you can see in the upper right, in the top upper right, there's the X that is for students to exit. And then also some options and help are over there. All of that looks different. It functions basically the same, but it looks different. On the next slide, for all of your kids who need to use TTS, it's going to be important that they have an opportunity to practice that. Again, you can practice it in the OTTs anytime, but in order to get to your audio settings, the settings are the same and the layout for what that looks like is the same, but you access it through that gear circle in the upper right corner. And that's very different from what we've done in the past. So you want to be sure that kids have an opportunity to take a look at that. You have the same options as far as volume and speed and follow along. And you also do the start, stop, and pause from there, but it's accessed through that gear circle. So anybody who's using TTS, you're going to want to be sure that they have an opportunity to see that beforehand. On the next slide, the notepad is replacing the sticky note tool. It's going to function the same, which means that they'll have access to that notepad on that item, but it doesn't carry through for any of the other items. You'll just see that on the item that they're working on it for. So it looks a little bit different, but basically it's going to function the same way. And it will save those notes in the same way that the sticky pads saved the notes before. The next slide is the review screen. So the review screen applies to fixed form tests. That means all science tests, all social studies tests, and certain accommodated forms of ELA and math. For math, that's STAC Spanish, students who are testing using VSL. Also, will have a fixed form in ELA. So this is what the review screen looks like now. When the student gets to the end of the test, you can see there's a direct link to any items that don't have an answer, and it tells you that they're unanswered. In a fixed form test, students have the option to flag an item. So if they flag an item, that will be listed over here as well. And then for ELA, if you have a student who's taken the accommodated version of the test, the passage that is connected to that item, so if it's a part of a passage set, will be listed in that last column. And then if students have a whole bunch of things and they want to filter, they can filter to look at only their flagged items or only their unanswered items. But the default when they land here is that it will list all of them here. The next slide shows you they changed the color of the highlighting. So the highlighting color is changed to pink. Most of these changes were done for ADA and accessibility reasons, just so that students are prepared. I know a lot of teachers will use similar highlighting and things like that. So just to be aware that the highlighter color is different this year. The next slide gives you the links in order to view all of those things. You can access the OTTs and the tutorials from the MSTEP webpage, and that gives you the route for where to find that. Go under content specific information and then online practice. Or however else you've been accessing those, you can also access that through the testing engine for the tutorials. Is there anyone who has questions about how to access tutorials or OTTs?
So if they went to the normal practice, the online practice, you're saying that these adjustments have been made there as well?
Yep, and that's available now. The last slide I wanted to talk about headphone requirements. This is not a change. It's just there's been some confusion now that everyone needs the headphones because of TTS for directions. We just wanted to be clearer about which headphones are allowed, especially looking ahead as far as planning for students to have headphones. So any wired or wireless headphone is allowed. The big question is surrounding Bluetooth headphones and what Bluetooth headphones look like. So these are the two parameters under which student Bluetooth headphones are allowed. First, the Bluetooth has to be connected only to the student's testing device. And second, all of the other devices have to be powered off. So if a student has obviously cell phones, tablets, smartwatches, anything else, that all has to be turned off. And as long as that's all turned off, then they can only connect to the testing device and Bluetooth headphones are allowed. The third, there's some headphone types that have things like voice command or texting, or they can access the internet or connect to apps. Those are not allowed in any instance. Does anyone have any questions about any of these things?
All right, well, thank you, Phoebe. Appreciate the updates on this and some of those different pieces. So we've got resources to move forward with.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Kathy.
Okay. All right,
good?
thanks. Yep. Hi, everybody. So I've met many of you, and for those that I haven't, I'm Kathy Dewsbury White. I work with the Michigan Assessment Consortium, and I'm going to provide a little partner update for you. If you look at the next slide, Mark, if you just go to the cover slide, I'd like to just quickly introduce this resource to you. It provides, at a glance, the professional learning opportunities and networks and communities and so forth that are available in this coming year. That QR code will take you to this document, and Mark was going to just help out by driving and doing a little preview and looking through this. Okay.
It's going to be something else for a second, but here we go.
No problem. Okie doke. So that's what you saw on the cover of the slide. And if you go to the next slide, or the next page in the document.
Yep.
You got a table of contents, and so that you can see what's in this. Essentially catalog, I guess we're calling it. We're just putting everything in one place here. And we've done this before, but this is a little different format. Okay, and if you go to the next slide. This is a chart that I've shown this group before. And what this does is it organizes the MAC engagements by, so that you can see who we think the intended audience is. So here you have acronym soup down the left, and these are the engagements. So Building a Better Assessment Future Conference. And we're telling you that we think that that's built to accommodate a diverse audience. Our engagements are built from the assessment literacy standards, and we've updated those this year in 2024. And we have assessment literacy standards that are built for teachers, building administrators, central office, and then policymakers, which includes like your school boards as well as your elected officials. And then we also have standards that are built for students and their parents or guardians. And so this is where when you look at the role groups, we're trying to get specific. And then because ISDs are so important to us and your role in terms of serving your LEAs, you see that teased out, okay, as well as assessment facilitators. All right, next slide, please, or next page. And then now what you see essentially are a compilation of the flyers that support a number of the PL engagements. And so you can just keep clicking here. This is where you can read more about what the engagement is and if there's a cost and how you register and so forth. Yep. So just keep going. You guys know that this next one here is built specifically for ISDs. We'll provide an update at some point this year about the experience that the ISDs have had with this particular program, because really where they go and how they end up serving their constituent districts is, I think, what you all would be most interested in. So we can do that later and then keep going. Okay, these are two communities that are that first one, this is formed for this year, but I want you to just know that we anticipate forming a new group next year, and we're writing performance assessments aligned to competencies, and those will be released and available for voluntary use in the state. And then Malfa is a community that is ongoing, and you can join whenever you wish, but they meet about 4 times a year. So those are a little different in terms of those engagements that are more like conferences and institutes and workshops and so forth. Mark, if you go back to the one page that says ALI, Assessment Learning Institute. Okie doke. This starts Saturday, October 5th. And so there's still an opportunity to potentially register. It is teacher focused specifically, and it is really good foundational classroom assessment training. And so I wanted to just point that out. And then the one after this, I think there are many ISDs that have participated in the Assessment Learning Network before, but of note, this year and next year, all of these sessions are being offered with the support and in conjunction with your disciplinary literacy leadership task force. So this is really very custom, I think, in terms of interest for this particular group.
I will say, if you did want to talk more, obviously you can talk to Kathy, but if you want to talk from those that have experienced it, and then there might be others on the chat, I don't mean to be ignorant to that or in the room, but I have done the ABCA for ISD, and at Kent, it prompted us to actually hire an assessment consultant. So it was really good conversation that we all realized was like way more based on what we had on our plates, and we all dabble with assessment. I'm sure you all feel the same way. But it really helped us structure an argument to make a case for an assessment consultant, which we've hired. So he's now 2 to 3 months on the job. So I'll tell you more as that unfolds, but we're really excited about that, because now when people ask me about these assessment pieces, I can kind of reference to and have the conversation with him, and he's learning more about these tools and these things, so that where MAC is such a powerful, all-encompassing resource, he's delving into that for us and helping us with that to kind of pull out the important pieces and help us find those pieces at will. So I can speak more to that as well. But thanks, Kathy. I know it's always an overwhelming piece, but I think also, and I know you've been on, but you saw that others are starting to show those connections as well. You know, with
Oh, it's
our
awesome.
and other pieces referencing the work and how they're partnering with the Michigan Assessment Consortium. So
Yeah.
thanks for your updates today.
Mhm.